Frontier today have updated the forums with some new information on Odyssey. In addition to that, I also have a few extra details, so let's take a look. Broadly speaking, the latest information can be broken down into 4 categories: legacy gameplay such as power play, FPS equipment in Odyssey, gameplay in Odyssey, and finally game engine changes that will be coming with the update. So I'm going to take a look at these in that same order. It looks as though a power play will indeed be supported in Odyssey. This is something Frontier want to discuss at a later date. The background simulation will also be a part of Odyssey. Frontier confirmed that quite a while ago. Frontier have now reiterated that the BGS will have an effect on the appearance of settlements and other locations based upon their current BGS state. In the recent Odyssey screenshots, we have got a brief look at the new FPS HUD. I went into some detail on this in a previous video. In addition to this, the on-foot HUD will support access to extra information such as what we see in our ship's panels. Frontier will go into further detail on this at a later point. The suit will also include a variety of other functions. One of these is night vision mode. These functions will be unlockable via upgrades. Weapons, meanwhile, will also be customizable with things such as improved sights and suppressors, as well as other such things. Additionally, there will be cosmetic changes for weapons that will allow players to change the weapon skins. For anyone wondering about the current variety of suits that are available in Elite Dangerous from the cosmetic store, all of these will be compatible with Odyssey, meaning that players will be able to walk around using them when on foot. Meanwhile, more upgrades likely means more modules, which has also led to the question once again on ship module storage space. Currently, there are no plans to increase storage capacity for ship modules. Gameplay is definitely one of the most interesting aspects of Odyssey, and for now, the details on this are still fairly sparse. I'm very eager to hear more. Meanwhile, Frontier have confirmed that gravity will play a part and that this will work in a number of ways. Firstly, when at outposts in space, these are the static stations without gravity by the way, players will use mag boots. This is essentially a way of not having any zero-G areas. It remains to be seen if these areas visually look as though they have zero-G, as mag boots don't answer all the gravity-related issues. Meanwhile, on planets, there is an upper level to the amount of gravity that a player will be able to disembark at the planet on. Obviously, if the gravity is too high, humans wouldn't be able to survive. On the other end of the scale, on very low-G planets, players will be able to jump far higher. All the more so if they have an effective jump pack equipped. Grenades would also have their trajectories affected based upon the level of gravity. FPS combat, by the way, will be an optional part of Odyssey and not a required part. In terms of the combat gameplay, here's something that wasn't on the forums, but came as an answer to questions from content creators. Going prone and leaning out from cover is not a part of the Odyssey combat experience. However, it will include crouching. Now, in my opinion, the lack of leaning out from cover seems to suggest that cover may not be a major aspect of combat in Odyssey. In fact, we didn't see anyone, I don't think, in cover in the recent gameplay trailer, even though there was only a very small section of combat in that. Anyway, there's not enough information to speculate too much on that right now. I guess we'll have to see what happens with future reveals. People have wondered about surface-based mining. This isn't going to be a thing, unfortunately. Quite disappointed to hear that actually at the moment, because I think ground-based mining would prove a very nice additional experience, something I think a lot of people would like to see in Odyssey. Now, flying other people's ships and controlling other people's ships is not going to be possible. However, one great change that is coming is that players will be able to deploy into an SRV whilst in multi-crew. This is something that currently isn't possible, so this is actually a very nice improvement. Talking of SRVs, when a person who doesn't own Odyssey is out in their SRV and they encounter a person who is on foot and has Odyssey, what happens? Well, apparently this is something that Frontier need to look into, so when there's more information on this, I'll make sure to include it in a video. Whilst on the subject of things that will not be possible, players will not be able to hire NPC crew members to fill multi-crew roles. Fleet carrier interiors have a bit more of a vague answer, however. On the subject of whether or not fleet carriers will have walkable interiors, Frontier have said we have nothing to add on this at this moment in time. So that's not exactly a no. and judging from the previous answers, Frontier are willing to answer no when that is clearly the case. So I guess at this particular subject we will have to wait and see for Frontier to clarify further in future. In terms of story content, Frontier state that mysteries like the Thargoid ones will continue to be a part of the game. Now Odyssey is a huge change to Elite Dangerous, so it makes sense it will come with changes to the game's engine. In regards to this, Frontier have said that a lot of new code and systems have been implemented into Odyssey and that a lot of the current code has been refreshed, so that's good news for sure. In terms of new planets, from what we have seen already, these do look like a huge improvement over what we have right now. However, the planet tech will not support overhangs. One subject that I have seen people questioning many times is the use of networking. As is well known at this point, Elite uses peer-to-peer networking, and this will not be changing for Odyssey. In short, the FPS component of Odyssey, just like the rest of the game, will be peer-to-peer based. Moving on to the subject of lighting. From what we've seen in Odyssey so far, the lighting does look very nice in certain areas of the trailers. Now this new lighting has been extended to the entire game. However, whether you need Odyssey to see these improved lightings when in space or if it will be available in the base version of Elite, this has not yet been answered. Now here's another point, and this one I wasn't sure really which section to put it in, so I've put it in the one about the game engine. And this one is about the ship's HUD colours, whether you'll be able to customise them when Odyssey comes out. Unfortunately, that's not going to be a thing. And finally, with all the graphical changes, people will certainly be wondering if hardware requirements will change by very much at all. Frontier's answer on this is Odyssey will be optimised to run on your current settings for Elite Dangerous. So this again is pretty vague, as it doesn't really give any indication as to whether there will be performance changes. That then brings us to an end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.